Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. We just had Rafael Fiziev and Mateusz Gamrot's UFC Fight Night go down. There was a few weird things that happened throughout the card that I want to touch on before I get into my actual matchmaking. But real quick, a couple of things I want to touch on was that Montserrat Rendon fight and Tamires Vidal. This was like, I'm pretty sure it was the opener of the whole night. And Vidal got punched in the boob at one point, and she looked at the ref like, "Hey, ref, like, I need a timeout," the way like male fighters do when there's a nut shot. And the ref gave it to her. I'm coming out the gates with this one. The ref gave it to her? Why did he give her the timeout? Like, I'm sorry, as a referee, you have to know the rules well enough to know that that's not an illegal shot. That was perfectly legal. And even if you're not that well versed in the rules, can't you just like as a common sense referee be like, "Hey, if that was an illegal shot, we wouldn't even be able to have women's fights because where the hell would you guys punch each other?" Like, I'm sorry. I can't. I don't even. I'm not even mad at Vidal, honestly. Like, if I could pull some bullshit like that in a fight where I'm like, I get like punched in the shoulder and I'm like, oh, ref, oh, please, I need a minute. And the ref's like, yeah, all right, you can have 30 seconds or whatever. I'd be like, yeah. But like, as the ref, why the hell are you giving me that break? So, like, I don't blame Vidal. If I could get a break like that, I would take it. The ref was just an absolute moron. I cannot believe that. Speaking of moronic refereeing, who was it? It was Mark Smith, I think, his second time making a very bad DQ call where that it was Jacob Malkoun and Cody Brundage. It was like a minute into the fight, Malkoun had Brundage down and he was just mauling him. It was very clear, very fast that Malkoun was going to dominate Cody Brundage. And as he's laying down the ground and pound on him, you know, he just accidentally elbows Brundage right to the back of the head. I mean, it's very obviously to the back of the head, but it also wasn't on purpose very clearly. But referee jumped in and stopped it immediately. They brought in the doctor. Brundage just kind of sat against the fence the whole time, like during the whole 5 minutes that he was given, just like, milking it a little bit, but it wasn't a legal strike, so I'm not going to hate too much. And at the end of it, he said he couldn't continue, and they called it off and gave him the win by DQ. Should have been a no contest because because Malkoun was very, very clearly winning and going to win. But I guess this is just the rule books. I don't know. The other time this happened with Mark Smith was the Aljo Yan fight. Yeah, so I know you guys are immediately getting PTSD there as soon as I mention it. So, you know, take that as you will with Mark Smith. Next time you see him refereeing, let's be a little cautious if there's a foul thrown at any point. Might just end up seeing a DQ immediately. So, whatever. It made me very salty to see it. I didn't have anything even on writing on that fight. I was just like upset for Malkoun. You know what I mean? Mohammed Usman, the Motor, Mr. Motor. He had a pretty good performance. I'm not gonna say impressive because it was against Jake Collier, but it was a good performance for sure. Really nice slam in that third round. That was pretty fun to watch. Good, decent striking, especially for a heavyweight division. The biggest thing really just being that Jake Collier is a very, very fat middleweight that should not have been fighting at heavyweight. Should not have been fighting somebody on a winning streak like Muhammad Usman. So Usman won that just like he should. So not much to say there, really. I mean, what more is there to say? And then the other thing is Tim Means versus Andre Fialho. Gotta be one of the best fights, or at least one of the best prelim fights I've ever seen. That was such a great, it was very paced, but very constant back and forth. They're not like throwing shots at each other every 2 seconds, but it was every 5 or 10 seconds somebody was doing some sort of movement forward, some sort of combo, some sort of pot shot, a little bit of just like every few seconds there was something technical happening that was still interesting to watch. It was a really cool fight. If you guys have the time, that is one of the few ones I would recommend going back to see. It was a finish too in the third round TKO for Tim Means. So if you like just going back to watch finishes, that one's definitely for you. That one won fight of the night. I remember seeing it. I was like, this one should win fight of the night until I saw Mitchell Ige, and then I was like, okay, that might win it, especially just because they were bigger names. But they didn't, surprisingly enough. So anyways, that was a lot of what was like noteworthy from the prelims and from earlier on in the card. You know, there was kind of a weird card throughout, a few things that I've never seen before, at least, going on, but whatever. Moving on into the actual matchmaking part of the list. In the main event, your winner, Gamrot. I mean, this guy, I can't tell, is he the luckiest or the unluckiest UFC fighter? Because, sure, he's staying pretty well afloat in the lightweight division off of these wins, but nobody's really taking him seriously. He's fluking like crazy. As soon as he got like a real step up in somebody like Darush, he lost. Sarukian, he arguably lost to. Turner, I kind of think he might have lost to him. You know, there was the foot break on this one. He got bitched by Darush. Like, this is like arguably possibly the most fraudulent lightweight at the moment. But it's hard to say that because he did go the full distance with Sarukian. And even if you don't think he won that fight, he definitely was like very close. So you got to put him at least close to Sarukian in terms of skill. You know what I mean? And it does suck for Gamrot, truly. I like the guy. I would like to root for him more, but it becomes difficult to be a fan of him when this is every single time he wins. It's this way. It's some manner like this. Like, can we just get a real win without the asterisks this time, dude? You know? But anyways, for my matchup for Gamrot, obviously I don't count this really as a real win for him. So I'm not going to just be giving him an opponent up in the rankings. But I will be giving him somebody that I think will be an incredibly interesting stylistic matchup. It's a guy who has an upcoming main event soon against a pretty exciting striker. And I'm going to put Gamrot versus Dawson. I really think Dawson's going to win against Green. I think he's probably just going to lay and prey on him for about 25 minutes or at least 10 minutes. And then Green's just going to get bored and give up the submission because he realizes he can't out-wrestle him. And after that happens, Dawson will be still about number 10 ranked, probably. Maybe they'll move him up to number 9. Gamrot's sitting at like number 7 right now. They might give him that number 6 spot because technically he beat Fiziev, but that's still close enough to number 10 with Dawson. I don't mind it. And I think this is a fantastic grappling matchup. I would be very curious to see the scrambles out of Gamrot because I don't know how well Dawson's scrambling ability is. So I would like to see what he can do on top of like how he's going to try and control Gamrot. Well, because we know how good Gamrot is at scrambling. So I really feel like it's going to be like both guys are fighting for control, but I think Dawson's going to be a little bit more just like slower, powerful technique, while Gamrot's going to be a lot of quick scrambling and trying to circle out and possibly even get back to the feet. This could be a fight where I see Gamrot preferring to stand rather than go to the ground for sure. Unfortunately, Rafael Fiziev is the official loser of the fight. I had him winning. I know I made like some last minute predictions on that one video, but the prediction that wasn't last minute was Fiziev by a late like 4th round TKO. I genuinely thought that was what was going to happen. That was what I thought was going to happen when the fight was announced. That was what my mind was set on the entire time. It never changed once. And watching that first round, I believe Fiziev beats Gamrot 9 out of 10 times. I believe I was going to be spot on with my prediction, honestly. And that's part of the reason why I'm so salty that this went down the way it did. But it is what it is. We have to take our We have to take our hits as they come. So Fiziev's going to be out for a while, probably about a year with that injury. And that's a pretty gnarly injury right in his leg, too. Could really mess with his explosiveness. So I don't want to give him anything too insane on his way back. But I don't want to set him too far back either when he comes back. I do want to give him an opportunity to kind of jump right back into the mix. So I want to put him against the loser of my last matchup, Gamrot and Dawson. I think whoever loses this fight will probably end up around like an number 8-ish ranked spot. And with the inactivity Fiziev's going to be forced to have, he might drop to about a number 7 or a number 9 area, depending on how things go in that division. So I think rankings-wise, it'll work out perfectly. Given the kind of performance he was having against Gamrot just before the injury, I definitely think in a comeback, especially if Gamrot loses to somebody like Dawson, Fiziev, that like immediately makes it so obvious that like Fiziev can very much win this even on the comeback from the injury. And if it's Dawson, well, Dawson's really only got the grappling and not much of a submission threat, and the striking is, there, but not quite. So that would be a pretty like good grappling test for him right on his comeback, and would keep him somewhat injury like, safe in terms of like he's not going against a big striker. In the co-main event, we had Bryce Mitchell edging out that decision over Dan Ige. I remember watching it. I was somewhat-ish leaning towards Bryce Mitchell, but thinking to myself the entire time, I wouldn't be surprised or complain if they gave it to Dan Ige because of damage. Bryce didn't really put too much wear and tear on Ige's face, at least not by comparison to what Ige did to him, nearly shutting one of his eyes completely, it seemed like. But Mitchell stuck it out. He grappled his ass off, and by that I mean like very desperately and like aggressively, but he did it nonetheless. Got close to a few submission attempts, but never quite in there. And he edges out a decision over Ige. 30-27 is a little ridiculous, but at the end of the day, I'm not really too upset with either way this fight could have gone. That being said, now it is time for Mitchell to get another step up, after that bounce back win. So I'm putting him up against Josh Emmett. Now, I think this fight's good because a lot of the people right above Mitchell are people that you don't want to see him fight. Or, like, maybe you do, but they're, like, much riskier matchups for him. Like, Mitchell versus Evloev, I wouldn't mind it too much. Mitchell versus Chikadze, though, I don't really care for it. Mitchell versus Cater isn't really the matchup I want to make, especially on Cater's comeback from the injury. But Mitchell versus Emmett, this one interests me a lot. I think it'd be quite fun. I think you'd be seeing Mitchell kind of, using his mediocre-ish striking, kind of doing a lot of work with volume and getting like some pitter-patter combos, like 2-3 hit combos. They aren't hitting too hard, but they are hitting kind of as he bounces around on the outside looking for a takedown pretty quickly, as Emmett's just going to look to stuff takedowns and throw that right overhand. And seeing the way Mitchell took hard shots from somebody like Topuria, obviously he took them a lot better from a guy like Dan Ige. But I'd be curious to see Emmett, the notorious one-punch KO artist of the featherweight division right now. I would like to see how Mitchell deals with that kind of power after dealing a lot better with Ige's power, but not dealing so well with Topuria's power. I think this will be a really good, like, kind of in-betweener test on that. And obviously, it's not a big grappling test. If you want that, put him against Evloev. I wouldn't mind that matchup. There's a handful of matchups right now for Mitchell that I don't mind, but I think the Josh Emmett one is the most exciting. If he wins this, it'll put him up to like number, I want to say 6 in the rankings. And I think we would all enjoy seeing Bryce Mitchell towards the top of the featherweight division. In our losing spot of the co-main event, we had Dan Ige. This guy cannot seem to catch a break. One of the most flippy, floppy, wishy-washy like careers I'm seeing in the featherweight division, especially right now. losing to guys like TKZ and then beating guys like Nate the Train. I just like what is Ige's what is his skill level? I honestly can't figure out where this guy's skill level is. It's certain days I feel like he should be in the top 7, top 6 of the division like 100%. And then he has fights like this where I'm like, dude, you're never making it out of the top 15. And I can't tell which one I want to decide on for sure. But in the meanwhile, he lost. He's an exciting striker, though. And you know who I want to put him against? I want to put him against Lerone Murphy, the number 15 featherweight right now. He got promoted to number 15 after TKZ retired, and a spot in the rankings opened up. And I think this fight would be absolute fireworks. Put it as a fight night main event or a co-main event, pay-per-view opener, a prelim headliner. This is gonna be an exciting one, guys. This is not one that you want to sit back for. It's gonna be one that you're gonna be sitting on the edge of your seat. Both these guys throwing heat. Both these guys throwing combos. Both these guys going for the knockout. This would be one that would definitely, as soon as I see it on the bout order, definitely perking up and getting a little excited for it. In the featured fight, we had Marina Rodriguez and Michelle Waterson Gomez. I'm sorry, Michelle Waterson. That's like, you didn't deserve that, honestly, and neither did your kid. Your kid didn't deserve to be in the front in the crowd watching that. But that was just terrible matchmaking at the end of the day. Anyways, I mean, like the women's strawweight division is honestly kind of fucked up right now completely, because a lot of these women have like 90% of everybody that's like right in that like 6 to like 11-ish range has fought and either beaten or lost to like 2 or 3 of the other people within that range. So the matchmaking right there right now is just a clusterfuck. And I know that because I was just looking through it a little bit to try and make a match for her. And she's fought half of these people. Half of them she's beat. Half of them she's lost to. You look at the other ones that she hasn't fought, and they've already fought and lost to half of these other guys too. It's pretty ridiculous. And because of all of that, I just want to say, fuck it. I'm not going to give her some bullshit little like 2-spot jump up in the rankings, whatever. I'm just going to throw her all the way up to Amanda Lemos. They haven't fought each other. Lemos got her ass kicked by Weili. Yes, Rodriguez lost to Verna Jandiroba, who is like in between the two of them. But I don't think any of us really care to see Jandiroba doing anything, guys. Let's be honest here. I don't really care about Marina Rodriguez either, but I care at least a little bit more than Jandiroba. And I'm also definitely not looking for Rodriguez to rematch Jandiroba after she just rematched Waterson Gomez. It's not. I mean, that was barely a fight that interested me the first time around. You know what I mean? This is. Come on, guys. Let's get some parity. All right, I'm doing this. This is what I want to see. I mean, it would either be this or Lemos Jandiroba, and then like Rodriguez versus the winner of that or the loser of that or something like that. But this division's kind of just a problem right now. You really need some of these people to either just start skipping a few spots or just consistently go on a losing or consistently go on a winning streak. Because like there's so many, like she above her again is like Andrade and Dern, but she's already beat Dern and Dern's already fighting Andrade too. And I don't know if I want to just match her against like the winner of that, because then still another rematch if Dern wins, you know? And I don't know if I want Dern to get higher up in the rankings, so I don't want to put her against somebody she's already lost to, you know what I mean? It's a clusterfuck, so this is what I'm going with, but we'll really see how these women's divisions shake out. Brian Battle, I mean, this dude is going out there putting on exciting performances every time. He's really like, I feel like a lot of people still keep like shitting on him whenever they see him on a fight card, and they're like, oh man, this card has no names. There's no good names on this card. And I saw a lot of people doing that with this card too. And I was like, look, it's a fight night, first of all. So if there's anywhere they can put the shit fights, it's here, first of all. Like, guys, Okay, there's so many people on the UFC fighter roster that they have to put on these no-name shit fights somewhere. They just have to. And I'm sorry, the free fight night is where to do it. It is where to do it, especially like prelims and stuff. And people were really mad shitting on this card. This was still a decently, like, not stacked, but like all throughout. There was a name here and there peppered all throughout, you know. I mean, Muhammad Usman, people know that. Brian Battle, Charles Jourdain. I mean, every single name, there was at least one, like, decently interesting name for every fight on the main card because there was Charles Jourdain, there was Brian Battle, you had Rodriguez and Michelle Watterson, you had Mitchell Ige, and then Fiziev Gamrot. I mean, for a fight night card, that's a pretty good main card. That's a little rant I had to go on because I saw a lot of people shitting on this card, and I'm like, for a fight night, this one's pretty good. Guys, let's appreciate what we have. But Brian Battle got a pretty gnarly second round submission. He's been having some really exciting performances lately, and he's been a little too 50-ish on his come up right now. So I'd like to see him get one or two more wins maybe before we start putting him in the ranking spots. And I think a good fight for him would be none other than the Argentinian dagger Santiago Ponzinibbio. I think this would be a barn burner of a fight. This is probably prelim. This is prelim headliner, but for a pay-per-view, 100%. Pay-per-view prelim headliner, right here, absolute firework barn burner. They're gonna these guys will be throwing strikes with bad intentions. They're gonna be absolutely swinging at each other and might see a submission again. You know, I definitely wouldn't be surprised to see some gnarly scrambles out of this fight at some point, even if it only happens once, some point. And the final matchup I'm gonna make was the main card opener. Charles Jourdain got a first round sub over, what was his name, Ricardo Ramos. I mean, wow. I don't know if you guys pay attention to Verdict at all, but I guess there was less than 1% of people on Verdict predicted that as the outcome, which is pretty insane. And it's a pretty good performance and result for Charles Jourdain, especially how he's on a bit of a streak now, but he's kind of like Brian Battle, where like he's got a good streak with a couple decent names on it, but he's also lost to a couple decent names that prevent me from wanting to give him a ranked guy again just next. Like, he's in a very similar position where I think he just needs like one or two more fights and then get a ranked opponent. And I think a good guy to put him against would be a guy that also lost to Shane Burgos, also is an exciting striker, and these guys would really be perfect on another position like this, a fight night main card opener or a fight night. I mean, this could be a co-main or a featured fight for a fight night. 2. Billy Quarantillo, Charles Jourdain. Let's run it. Dude, don't tell me this doesn't look exciting to you. I'm sorry. Don't tell me this doesn't look exciting to you. Jourdain, with his sniping abilities. Quarantillo, basically a man known for going to war. How could you go wrong? How could you go wrong? And that's about all I got to say. That was my matchmaking video for all the fights after the Fiziev Gamrot Fight Night. I mean, they didn't even fight, really, but whatever. Those are all my matchups, guys. Let me know if you guys like these matchups. Who do you think will win in these matchups? And if these guys should fight somebody other than who I put them against, let me know. Always open to new ideas like that. And thank you guys for watching. I'll have more videos out this week, and stay violent.